I think I'm going to sum up 2 or 3 questions in one. A few people say, are you going to measure X or Y? That isn't in there yet, and those are really good questions. They're all things that we want to measure. And Anne-Marie, perhaps I could hand over to you to talk about, where we go from here over the next 10 years. If someone gave us $10 million tomorrow, what would we do?
Well, I think, as I think you've already said, our goal is to produce data tracking all countries in the world on all rights set out in international human rights law. Given the choice between expanding our country coverage and adding more rights, I think most of us in the team would favour getting complete country coverage as a slight edge, a slight priority. Feel free to disagree with me if anyone wants to. And the reason for that is that we've had a lot of really important data users tell us that they actually can't start using our data for what they do until we have all countries in the world. So for example, we've heard from organisations like the World Bank that they'd love to be able to use our data and put it into some of their own indicators and indices, but they can't do that if we've only got 33 countries on our civil and political rights as we have right now. And since our priority is to get the data being used by as many organisations and individuals as possible to really start bringing about change, that would be our priority. And as I mentioned earlier, our priority in terms of country expansion is to go region by region. And the order in which we expand to different regions will depend on funding and also on other, alliances with organisations in each region. So I think as we expand to each region, we're really keen to form collaborations with organisations that are already specialising on human rights in that region so that we can expand to the region in a collaborative way. Having said that, if there's a particular right that we're not covering and somebody wants to fund development of inclusion of that, that's something that, we just love to kick off.
Yeah. I think we've said before that, we want to expand in 3 kinds of ways. We want more countries in the survey. We want more rights, which includes, whole extra work streams on different sets of rights, and more detail as well. So we've expanded over the last year. We've had more the ability to disaggregate some of our rights by sex, for instance, and the economic and social rights. Susan's been able to do that over the last year. That's a new development. And as more data are available, disaggregated by location or ethnic group, we'll be able to produce that on the rights tracker as well. We're a young and nimble and energetic organisation, and so we are, we have our fingers in lots of pies and our expanding tentacles in lots of directions. We're very focused on trying to find funding to expand to new countries, but we are also getting started on some of the new rights, and we've been delighted to welcome Drew Dalton, who is an academic in the UK, and he's the founder and chair of Report Out. So he's come on board as our SOGI lead, our sexual orientation and gender identity lead, so that we're starting work already on ways to measure rights of LGBTQIA+ people. And that may just briefly answer a couple of questions that have come in about, for instance, disaggregating the data of all of those letters. Yes, absolutely. We would love to be able to provide more detailed data on the experience of all of those people. And I will just note, I'm sorry, I've lost the question of who asked that exactly. Amy Cuzzolino. It was a really good question. LGBTQIA+ encompasses many groups of people. Do you disaggregate the data for each group or letter? Now that's a really good question. One of the ways that does get disaggregated a little bit is in the qualitative data, the answers that people give in their own words that we summarise on the rights tracker. And so if you go, actually, Anne-Marie, could you take us to New Zealand on the rights tracker, because I happened to notice that today when I was talking to a reporter. So if you take us to the New Zealand page, and if you go to safety from the state, these 3 middle tabs are where the qualitative information is, right down the bottom. If you take us down, if you can turn the word cloud into freedom from torture. Okay, so the top group that was noted by experts in New Zealand talking about the right to freedom from torture was people with specific medical conditions, and then in the qualitative data you see below that something that was mentioned specifically was intersex children. And so that's one way that that one of the letters of the acronym has shown up in the qualitative data. And so if you're interested in a particular country or in a particular right, you might be able to spot some of those things that show up. And if you search by LGBTQIA+ and see where it shows up in the word clouds, you'll be more likely to spot where it's going to show up in the qualitative data as well.
I also wanted to mention that on data disaggregation, we're also piloting a tool that would allow you to compute our scores on a disaggregated level. So for example, if you have data on primary school enrollment amongst children with disabilities, you would be able to calculate the score for that group. And then you could compare it with other groups in your country or with other countries. So we urge you to try that tool out. It's in beta format now, but the more feedback we get, the better we can make it.
And I'm just going to pop the link for that in the chat box. For those of you, you have to really like data and numbers to be following along with this, but it is an amazing tool. Now I think I just put it in, but it disappeared. Oh no, I just repeated my other responses. I'm sorry, everybody. Trying to do these things on the fly. That was obviously a mistake. There we go. So there's a link there to our beta calculator that one of our team members, Jay, has developed. And if you have a data set for groups in your country on the indicators that we use, then you'll be able to compute your own scores that you can use in your own advocacy and reporting.